Okay, well, I am live. There's two people watching, maybe one at the moment, and I am trying to figure a few things out last minute. As usual, I'm not particularly worried about all this. There were some things I was trying to load, and the clips were too big, so I'm redoing them. But meanwhile, what have we got? Greetings. Welcome to the fundraiser. Another day. We'll see if anyone shows up. People come, drop by. Who are you out there? That one lonely person who's there with me. If you have a name, let me know. Um, yeah. Well, we're going to. I'm kind of a little. What should I say? Um, I need to do more preparation. I've got stuff ready, but also I need to send more word out to people before we start doing this, and I will get there. Meanwhile, I do have good news to report, which I will in a moment. And while we are waiting for people to come, I am going to play you a bit of a Georgian wedding. And this is to a tune called Rachuli. And Rachuli, Racha is an area, and Rachuli means it's a Rachulian dance. And so this is at a wedding. And what I find really fascinating about this is that gosh, I wished our weddings looked like this. So let's play a bit of a Rachuli, a wedding dance. And you can pick up all sorts of things at the beginning. There's one guy he's got a suit and tie. I'm guessing he's the bridegroom, and he's getting ready to. He's got to dance because you got to prove your stuff. And meanwhile, the bride is obvious; she's in white. But then there's like his friend or something goes, no, I've got this. He's going to start it off. And it's a fascinating, not just a dance, but a ritual. And they are the last chance before the bride is married to see what the other guys have. I could see this in the past being definitely a part of the ritual. And so let's watch that. I should have my issues figured out by then, but you'll like this. we are back, and there's a little excitement for you from Georgia, Rachuli, a dance for a wedding. And here's the interesting thing. I've collected several variations on that dance, and the movements are always very similar. And they are symbolic. I'm not sure what all of, but they definitely are. And so I'd like to thank my friend Keith, who gave some money last week, or yeah, it was last week. Gave $100. Haven't talked to him in over 45 years, and that's amazing. So Keith just said thanks, and he's getting some music. So just a reminder of what we're doing here. It's not just me randomly going live playing Georgian music, although that's a pretty good reason to be here. It is, in fact, my fundraiser to try to get my library into a container in Alaska, shipped from the port in Haines, Alaska, 1,000 miles down the coast to Seattle, and then shipped from Seattle 12 time zones away to Poti on the Black Sea in Georgia, and then picked up by a train and then a truck and brought to my door with some kind of scary stop for customs along the way, which is the thing I'm probably more than worrying about any, storms at sea or anything. That is the thing that if I get through that, I'm like, okay, we're here, we did it. Especially if I get through it with my financial shirt still on. So where are we? Let's see what we're doing. I've got some reporting to do for you to show you what is going on. So let's switch our camera here. And who else is out there, by the way? Say hello. Okay, so let's see. So we just had an anonymous person give $30. Frank gave $60, and then A&N Technology, or a guy named Tom, gave $50, and those two people are coming in because they gave $50 or more, are coming in on the Georgian music files, and yes, you'll get a Rachuli or two in there. So that's where we are, and let's add that in. Okay, so so the overall amount is $12,000. That's a lot to think about, but you know what we're thinking about really is the freighter costs across those 12 time zones right now. So that's $6,000. And we've already made about $1,600. And then if I add these amounts, that gives me $140. So let's say 140. Now we're not adding here, we're subtracting. So because the reason for that is we want to know how much further we have to go. Or actually, so okay, so 269, is it 369? Or no, it's 269. 296.62, if my math is right, which it may not be. So there we are. We only need $2,962. Is that right? I don't know. I'll figure this out. I'll figure it out. Something like that. If someone wants to do my math better for me than I do, I would appreciate it, because I'm doing everything here. I don't have a staff helping me, which would be nice, wouldn't it? So let's see, we got about 4 people out there watching. That's cool. And I do have some things to talk about. And like I say, if anyone's got questions, that will be good. And so we need, we'll say, oh, is that? Yeah. I see where this. Yeah. So we need $2,962 to finally get rid of the freighter costs. It would be great to get at least. It would be nice to get another 1,000 tonight, or at least the 962. I know that's asking a lot, and people are tight. But I also know there are people out there who have far more money than I do. There is someone out there who's watching who could probably just write a check for the whole thing. Or if you are one of those people who has a bit more money than some low rent person like me, what you could do is send me an email and and suggest. Let me give you the email address just to remind you. If you wanted to, you could send me an email here. And okay, what are you doing there? You do that. You can send me an email and say, "Hey, Bern, I'd like to give X amount of money as a challenge to other people." So, and that is a good way of doing things. So you could say, I'm willing to double any amount that is made today. I'm willing to give $200 if we get 200, anything like that. And if you tell that to me, I won't write it up until we get that amount. We in my traditional fundraising for a radio station, this is how we would do things. And also, just to remind you of the Georgian music stuff, and I will be playing more Georgian music. I've got something very interesting coming up here in just a moment. But here's the deal. So if you give $50 or more, I will give. I have over 700 music files of Georgian music. Now, obviously, they're not all great, but I've got, I would say, at least 200-300 of them that are. And I would say if you give $50, I will send you 50 files. You have to make it at least $50. If you've already contributed and want to round up your number, that's possible as well. And if you give 100, if you want 100 files, I'll give you 100 files. Ditto with numbers up to about 200, we'll say. You can give more than $200, but I think it would be very hard for you to even just assimilate 100 files. 100, yeah. 200, yeah. You're pushing the boundaries of what a human can do in a short period of time. Nevertheless, you will go crazy. And some people have wanted more the folk stuff. Other people more, I think, the religious music. You'll get a mixture of a lot of different things, and so it'll all be very interesting. That I can guarantee you. So, who have we got out here? Anyone want to identify yourself, where you're from, who you are? Again, thanks to my friend Keith, who was on here briefly, and we knew each other in San Rafael, California. We were part of the Jesus movement, and we have had certainly quite a significant chunk of history together, and that is an important thing, to have history with people. And I'm really glad he's gotten in touch, and we'll see about staying in touch. Meanwhile, yeah, who are you? Identify yourselves. Where were you on the night of October 23rd, 2017? So, while you're thinking about that, remember the best ways to give are through PayPal or GoFundMe. GoFundMe is particularly good if you need a tax-deductible receipt. And let's do this. Remember, we'll come back to writing the reckoning motions at yahoo.com. Let's listen to, okay, let me tell you a little bit more about Georgian music here. So when I first came here, I had seen a video of this music and dance troupe called Erisioni. And when I first came here, the first time I came here, I was hoping I would find where they were. I found another very important group, Sukashvili, but I didn't find Erisioni, and it was a little hard to locate on a map. So one day, though, I'm walking down the street, and I knew that they were in this one general zone, but I couldn't see anything identifying them. And I stopped, and this was in my second visit here. I was just starting to recognize the hard to read, to put it mildly, Georgian alphabet. When I looked up and I saw a sign in bronze, and I looked at it slowly, and it said, and I made out Erisi. Oh, and I said, this is Erisioni. And I went in, and it was, I don't know, it was the afternoon, later in the afternoon, and the men who were at the front kind of let me go by. I walked up these old stairs of this strange old building, a strange old beautiful but decaying building. And there were students coming out because they teach students in the afternoon. And when I went up there, I was I asked, Erisioni, and one girl, she was probably in her around 20 or so, stopped and said, "They're not here today. They've already finished." I said, "Oh, okay. Do you think they'll be back another day?" And she goes, "Yeah, they usually practice around 12 o'clock, noon." So I said, "Okay, I'll try coming back then." So I came back in a day or two, and I went in and looking like I had no idea where I was, but I could hear music. And it was live. And I said, I found the right place. So how do I get in to see them practicing? That's what I really wanted to do. And let me give you just a trick about life. If you act like you should be somewhere, you can usually get in there. Now, this doesn't work in every situation, but basically, if you have a reason to be somewhere, people will generally let you in, and that's what happened. They had a reason to. I went in and I went to talk, and they introduced me to the man who was in charge of it, Jamal Chikrashvili. I probably mispronounced that. And he has sadly passed away since then, but he was a very important man. But then they took me down to meet the manager, Otar Bluashvili, who spoke more English, and we became friends. And the first thing they did was they let me go in and watch what was going on. Actually, that day I brought my friend John Graham with me, and John Graham is a musicologist. Last time I was on, I played, either last time or the time before, I played some of him talking about Georgian music. Anyway, he came with me, and he was with his mother. And I said, we're going to try to go in there and see. I think what happened was I talked to Otar, and they told me to come back another day or something. Anyway, I finally got in to see them. First, I saw the singers, then I saw the dancers. And so after that, I started taking videos of their dancing. And I'd love to play you a whole video right now, but we haven't got time for that. I have one that's 40 minutes here, but they are longer too. But this is just this is the opening of one of the shows, and I think you'll find this interesting. And while you're listening, go ahead and say hello on the chat. I don't care if you've been here already or if you're just lurking. Do that. But we're going to, this is my video footage of Erisioni practicing at the time, what was their opening number? They've since changed it. But this will take, I don't know, this is short. It's only a couple of minutes long. So. Okay, unfortunately, it got cut off there because the file was too big, and I hadn't thought about it as enough ahead of time to shrink it down. Maybe next time I'll do something like that because watching the whole number would have been really great. They do all sorts of strange things, lifting people into the air and standing on each other's shoulders, and um, and I've got another one I really wanted to play for you, but unfortunately, it has sword dances and another one with absolutely amazing athletic skills and such like that. But Georgian music, and that's just an example of the kind of files that I will include if you support the channel for more than $50. So anyway, okay, so I'm here. You're here. I've got about 9 people watching. Anybody want to say hello? Where are you from? Give me your location. If you've already been on here before, that's fine. I think I'm going to do this tomorrow, several hours earlier with Laura from Minnesota. If not tomorrow, the next day. So. Um, but yeah, it's a Sunday, so many of you might be running through to go to church or something like that. Don't know, depending on your time. And say hello. Also, another thing we can do because we're on StreamYard, I can, if you want to come on and talk live with me as a video extra, StreamYard allows that, and all you have to do is say, write a little comment, says yes, Bern, or write to the address for, just send me an email to this address saying, I'd like to come on and talk with you. I've got some thoughts. And then what I will do is I will send you the link through email. So something to think about doing. That's reckoningmotions@yahoo.com. All right. So what do you want me to talk about? I've got something, believe me. I'm not just here. I'm never just here to try to make money. I'm always trying to do something. Again, picked up another $140 while waiting. So we're doing good. Trying to get to that $6,000 freighter amount, and we've passed the $3,000 mark. So we're halfway there. And whether it's a small amount or whether you want to get some Georgian music files, that's a really good thing. So here's something I was thinking about. And I was thinking about this because I was watching, I think it's, I don't know if anyone else besides me watches Amala Ekpanobi. And she has I think, a Nigerian father and some sort of Anglo type mother. But anyway, she used to work for PragerU and has since gone independent, but she's very interesting. And she was playing some videos today of the strange shape of what's happening to children in what people are starting to call Gen Alpha. Well, although to me that's the silliest name on earth. It means you're just starting the alphabet again, and we didn't go through the rest of the alphabet. So it's like X, Y became millennials, and then Z became Zoomers or whatever. So it's probably stupid to call the next one Gen Alpha, as if they are the beginning of something. They are certainly not. But the videos she was showing was of children, of teachers in classrooms dealing with young children, like under 10 years old, some in middle school and such. But man, talk about developmentally challenged. And, one of the things she was saying that I thought was quite fascinating was that, well, people always say that the younger generation is blah, blah, blah. But this was on a different order of experience, which I find really fascinating. So, okay, so Laura is saying, yes, she'll be free tomorrow. So we will meet Laura tomorrow. So yeah, so I will be on tomorrow, probably about 2 or 3 hours earlier than today. So depending where you live, that's either good or not so good for you. But that's how it is. Well, I might just wake myself up in the middle of the night sometime to get some of those people in time zones in different locales entirely. But so now I started thinking about, and she said, what kind of solutions do you have? Part of it is that, so now the parents of these children are millennials. Some of their parents are Zoomers, even the young ones, which is really weird when you think about it. I mean, I am born in 1955. I've never considered myself a boomer, and yet I've always, that's how I would be ranked, because I don't hold the normal ideas for someone of my generation. I got off the track way early, but I started thinking, what do we do? It's like, for instance, now a lot of people are going to say, well, it's the parents, and it is the parents, and you now have parents. You have some of these are the great grandchildren of the boomers, the children of the millennials, and even some Gen Z. And now this isn't everybody, obviously, and we can hope for sanity in certain parts of the world. But what these kids were doing was not being able at all to take instruction, because under the guise of not wanting to. And you can see how teachers in this day and age are kind of doing things like afraid of reporting children, or afraid of dealing with children. And in fact, when a couple of these teachers were pointing things out to the children, and I'm going to actually do a whole video on this, but this is just my thinking out loud about it a bit. When they are doing when the teacher, a young teacher, say 22 years old, goes to the parent, and that would be a Zoomer, the teacher would be, goes to the parent and says, look, your child has an awful hard time of standing still in one place or taking orders, or in fact is absolutely hostile. Or in some cases, they were saying, we don't want to do ballet class. We want to dance to Sexy Red doing Pound Town. And if you look that up, you're just going like, oh my goodness, it's just like the end of the world. And I was thinking, what is it we're missing here as far as education? Now, there's a lot of things. Obviously, I would always say more history, geography would be nice, basic subject matter like that. But here's one thing I realized when I was living in Alaska. And I had about 8 homeschoolers that were under my tutelage. And at one time, and then it was about 5 or 6 another time. And when I say under my tutelage, for about 5-6 years. So we did 3 years of music history. And then, and my music history is not like, trust me, it's not like anyone else's. We can go from, I want to explain to them why music sounds the way it is. You've never had my music history on this class. You can kind of, some of you who've listened to my videos can kind of guess some of the things, but trust me, you really can't. But then I did 2 years on film and media history. And here's what I learned about that. When you think about it, most schools try to teach English and reading, right? Which makes a lot of sense. Obviously, you need to read and write and do math as well, and the usual kind of subjects, which is where these children were all falling apart. They were falling apart. This one guy got on and was talking about the fact that his middle school students were simply being passed on, because everyone was afraid of failing people. Of course, many of these people were African Americans. The teachers were African Americans, but the students were. And the teachers were just like, what is going on here? We can't teach these students anymore. But I thought about it, and this is something that occurred to me while I was teaching these homeschool students film and media history. It doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. This is the video I've got to make pretty soon, because I realize I need to talk about this. So Consider how much time is spent in front of screens now, which is film and media, essentially. It's the outworking of that, and how little time is spent teaching film and media. I don't mean time spent learning the computer and editing techniques and stuff, although that has its value. I mean understanding what this medium is, where you look at things, you stare at things, you watch things. What does it mean? So, for instance, most people have no conception of film history. I mean, literally, I would say the average person knows less about film history than they do about, well, these days, people don't know much about history. It reminds me of the old Sam Cooke song, don't know much about history. Yeah, well, now nobody knows much about history. But they don't know anything about where these techniques come from. So, for instance, they don't understand that if you are on the floor and tilt the camera up, it makes the character look stronger. They don't understand what a jump cut does, or during editing, how editing to music will change the nature of what you're doing. So, consequently, they are bombarded endlessly by these techniques that have been built up over the last 100+ years, and that were only discovered at the end of the 19th century, the beginning of that. But yeah, thanks, Laura. Yeah, no one knows how the radio works. Well, that's just the beginning. No one knows how records work. No one knows how CDs work. One of the reasons why vinyl records are better than CDs in terms of the collapse of society is you can at least get a vinyl record to play again if the electricity goes down. But what do? Shine a flashlight at a CD? No. Then there's the question of, and no one knows what the device in your hand is. So, where'd that thing go? So this thing, one of the things that all these teachers were saying was that all of the kids had access to pads and laptops and cell phones. All of them were pickled in this stuff. Now we're talking young kids. And here, people have said, when should you allow your child to have a smartphone? And my thought is, when you know what it is, which may sound like, oh, okay, it's a smartphone. Here, go ahead. What is it? Oh, mommy, it's a smartphone. No, that's not knowing what it is. It's when you realize that what's in your hand is not a simple device. See, because of the size of these things, we tend to think we're superior to them, which is a big problem, because we're not. We're not superior to it at all. It is much stronger than us. It is a global conditioner. The little device in your hand is like the smallest molecule on a massive octopus-like creature, Cthulhu in Lovecraft, or something even bigger, that is essentially got its tentacles all throughout the world. A child should be able to articulate a bit of fear and deep respect for this thing, because this thing isn't your friend. It isn't your babysitter. It isn't your. It isn't simply. Isn't that a nice mushy quality? And why is that? And it isn't your babysitter. It isn't the thing your pacifier for your young children. And I see parents do this all the time, because parents will suddenly come to the realization, they get harried and busy, especially mom, especially if it's a working mom. But I've seen lovely 2-parent families, and they put the kid in front of the screen because they can watch Baby Shark on repeat over and over, and the little kid will just sit there and go like, ah, and eventually start singing along with this nightmare. But the point is this: the visual images for a child are almost impossible to, what can I say, ignore. And so they can get hypnotized by it, in a sense. And we're running a huge experiment on our children. And the experiment is, we don't know what this stuff does, but hey, it keeps the kids quiet until you try to take it away. Then I've heard nightmare stories. And one of the videos Amala shared was of a little child who was in front of a television set, and he was connected by a cord. The cord did nothing, but he was just told by his mother that when you run, it recharges the battery on your computer or whatever. And so he's just running frantically, which is just insane. Do we want children running in place? Yeah, it's a most recent video. Anyway, so that's a few thoughts. If you have any thoughts, feel free to add them. So Laura is here from Minnesota. Welcome. And Laura is going to be with us tomorrow and coming on with me through the StreamYard factory. So Laura, you just simply show up live and then send me an email when you do. You don't have to be there on time. You can be there 5-10 minutes late or whatever. It doesn't matter. And then you can talk with me for a while about some of these problems related to music and such. And Laura, think about this till tomorrow. What are your thoughts about music education and education in general with media? I think it would be a good thing to keep doing. All right. So, oh, you're in Wisconsin. Sorry, I keep thinking you're in like Minnesota. It's all the Great Lakes. You're near a Great Lake. So, okay, who else is out there? Someone, surely. I see people looking. Maybe it's just on in the background and you're listening to me ramble. But are you thinking about giving? Are you thinking about helping me? I could use the help to get my stuff from Alaska to Georgia. Little did I know. If I could, unfortunately, when I first arrived here, I think about $8,000 would have done the job. Unfortunately, I didn't have a place to be. I mean, the two places I was living when I first got here, neither of them were at all suitable to bring my library. And one of them was because the house was just falling apart, and was also on the side of a like where you parked the vehicle was like this, and you couldn't even get a truck up to my door. So it would have just been almost impossible. And then the other one was just too small. So that was the first place I stayed in. And then, with gracious help from many of you, I was able to raise over $10,000. But that went into finding the place I needed to find, which I did, and I'm here, and you can see some shelves behind me, which I built. But unfortunately, between all of the money I had to spend on that, storage costs about another $4,000, and the what is it? Just inflation and the fact that our dollar dipped by like 25 to 30% after the beginning of the Ukrainian war. So all of that was just difficult. But now I'm at the point where I've got to do it. So I need to get it done by April. April is the time I'm shooting. I mean, if you want to, speaking of shooting, if you want to put me out of my misery and not have to listen to me talking, then you should donate. Let's see. What do we got? Neutron Nick says, one thing I remember hearing about phones is that they never have a dream where one uses the phone. However much you use it, it never doesn't affect you at any deeper level. That makes sense because, in fact, Timothy Leary, when the internet started to be a thing, he supposedly said he wanted to die on online, whatever that means. If I die right now, so what? It's like it would be something to clip. It's like, oh, here's a weird clip of a guy who died online. But he called these aquariums. He called the internet screen an aquarium. It's like a fishbowl. And you look into it and you think about the fish inside, but you don't think about the actual aquarium glass you're looking through. And we're looking at the world now through this. And I think to a rather strange extent, it's affecting us all. And we are running perhaps the largest experiment that's ever been run. And I think the implications are it's not exactly working out the way we thought. Yes, we are connected more, but maybe there's people who don't need to be connected. Had a friend get in touch with me through the phone today, although I tried to use the phone. I haven't really answered a Facebook request for a video chat on the phone and had it work yet. And I tried to, but I just didn't get it in time. So we talked on. I was rectangular. He was vertical, and but I think that we just don't understand what we're doing to ourselves, and everything he was talking about was stuff that was bothering him that he was watching online. And at a certain point, I had to say to him, I don't really want to talk about this stuff. It's just it gets inside your head, and I mean, I realize you think the world is coming to an end, and there's all these powers behind everything, and what's going on in Israel and Russia and Ukraine and China and in the States and the protests here or there are all a big deal. But at a certain point, you have to look outside your window and live. You have to take a walk. I took a nice walk today through. I have a park next door, so I got in a few thousand steps. Everyone's talking about the 10,000 steps. And it's just like, just get out and walk. It doesn't, you don't have to worry about counting them. So, but yeah, that's where we are. We're in this weird world where you don't realize you're looking through the world with technology. And the thing I always remember is the French Catholic philosopher Paul Virilio said, the more we improve our optical equipment, everything we create that's a new optical device, and that can be everything from a camera to a phone to a telescope, I suppose, he says, is one more way in which we have blocked ourselves from seeing things. We put the technology between us and the thing. And obviously, if you're working around with subatomic particles, you can't see those with your eyes, and you need the proper equipment. But it's one thing doing that kind of scientific research. It's another thing to apply technological equipment like that, technological optical equipment to your friendships and to your daily life, which is what we have done. So I appreciate the fact that I remember being really amazed that I could go online, find tickets to fly somewhere, and then get those tickets, or at least print them up at the time, and then go fly somewhere. But to me, that technology was a means to an end, and the end was being on the ground in Europe. It was being somewhere tangible. Now, we have a VPN. I have to use a VPN to access my bank in Alaska because my bank in Alaska is really, what should we say? My bank in Alaska is extremely conservative when it comes to what it does, and its security is super tight. So it doesn't like me trying to access my account from Georgia. So I have to use a VPN to pretend I'm in America. But here's the weird thing: is I hear people talking about VPNs, virtual private network, as if they're actually in another country when they aren't. I can change my address online. My what is it called? I know what it is, but I don't really care at the moment. I can change my IRL to America, but I'm still here. And that's the thing I've come to realize is no matter how we want to pretend that this thing has cut across time and space, it hasn't. It's only given us the illusion of cutting across time and space. Having said that, that can have real world effects. So, people are looking through all sorts of propaganda daily, being told what is and isn't happening. And I'm reminded of the comedian, performance artist Eric Bogosian back in the late 80s had a CD where he was doing this one-man performance piece. And the last person he did was this guy who was like kind of stoned all the time, but really cool. And he was talking about art and stuff. And he goes like, yeah, and then there's this stuff that's going on and nobody knows about it. It's a secret, but I know about it. And that's what everyone thinks now. Everyone thinks they know stuff that other people don't know. When in fact, all you have to do is go watch videos and you've got the same thing. I often feel while reading books, oh, this really is the stuff that other people don't know. But it's different when you're watching videos. This is the stuff anybody can know. If you have as much time as it takes to watch the video, you know this stuff, but you don't. It takes I'm always amazed by how much more in-depth reading knowledge is than visual knowledge. Okay, so I've been going on and on and on. I hope you enjoy me going on and on and on. Haven't had anyone send me anything for a while. So this is exercise. I will be here for another hour and 10 minutes. But so far, apart from the people I had who had sent me stuff the last few days, I haven't had a nibble today. So would you like to be my nibble for today? Would you like to get some Georgian music that I will send if you give $50 or more? Would you like to come on and talk with me live? Do you have some questions? It doesn't matter if you give anything, but it'd be nice to have someone join me online and talk. So if you do, let me know, and I'll send you I'll give you the address. Just write a comment. I'll give you the address. Let's see. If you're in America, it's probably too early in the morning for you, isn't it? And it's a Sunday, so many of you have to go and do things. And if you're in Europe, it's more like the early evening or afternoon. And if you want, but if you want to talk, let me know. Use this email address. Send me a line saying, Bern, I'd like to come on and talk with you, and you can do it. It is simple. You send me a little thing saying, yes, I'd like to, and then I send you a reply with the invitation in it. Then you come on. It takes about a 5-minute turnaround. And it's painless. It's remarkably painless. No one has suffered as a result of doing that yet. So, Reckoning Motions at yahoo.com. If you want me to put it up again, just say, what was that? I'll do it. Okay, who else is here? So we had Laura from Wisconsin. I keep getting that wrong. Okay. 7 o'clock, Holland. Nice to see you. Life is good. Life is good. We had, oh my goodness, it was, okay, I'll give this in Celsius time. It was about, was it 20 degrees today? Which was ridiculously warm. It was about 71 degrees for those of you in America, which for me is like, wait a minute, this is just the wrong time of year. But tomorrow it's going back to normal, down to about, I guess around 16 degrees, about 60 something. Closer to 50. So that's good. But yes, life is good. Cold. How cold is it in the Netherlands right now? Yeah, the Netherlands always gets the wind that's going towards the North Sea. Keeps them smart, though. I find that cool weather keeps your brain really functioning in a way that hot weather just kind of makes you like, yeah. But, okay, 7 Celsius. That's around 45 or so Fahrenheit. I have to do this. People will often say, aren't you glad you live in a country with Celsius now? To which the answer is no. I can accept the metric system more than the Celsius calendar, because the Celsius calendar just, people say, yeah, but it's exact, it's precise. And it tells me when water freezes. And I say, but I'm not water. So it's nice to know when water freezes. But to me, that's 32 degrees. We had our first snowfall this morning, 30 Fahrenheit. Just for you folks out there, 30 Fahrenheit is like -1 in Celsius. And which says a lot to me. Obviously, in Wisconsin, 30 degrees is comfortable outdoors weather, unless, it's just like way too much snow. And in Alaska, it could get down to 25 degrees but here's the thing. In Fahrenheit, when you get to 0, you're really, truly dangerously cold. And when you're at 100, you're really, truly dangerously warm. So that's like 38 degrees and about, I don't know, minus 16 or something like that. And but yeah, I enjoy. So I keep different things I look at, one in Celsius and the other in Fahrenheit, just because the Fahrenheit tells my brain, oh, that's actually cold, because 0 degrees in Celsius is nothing. It's just like, okay, I got to watch Walking on Water a little, but 0 in Fahrenheit, if I'm getting anywhere near that, I'm starting to say, oh, it's really cold. 4 degrees in the UK. That's good to know. And UK. Did you guys ever have the Fahrenheit system? You must have. Because I can't imagine you going along with the French for that long. Actually, it was the Swedes who invented Celsius. Thank you. Will do. So, yeah, I am waiting for the first person to contribute today. It would be nice to have done this for a reason. And let me give you the details. Let me switch over to the big board and see where we are, what we've got to do here. I'm sure you'll forgive me for boring you with these details, but it's not boring. It's really fascinating, actually, if you think about it, that a group of people can come together in this rather abstract manner. And what do we got? So here is how it works. The overall goal is $12,000. That is what it will take to get a freighter from Seattle to the Black Sea, to get a barge from Haines, Alaska, 1,000 miles down the coast to Seattle, Washington, to get a train and truck from Poti on the Black Sea coast to my door with a train and then a truck, and to go through the frightening customs. So that's, the barge is 2,000, that's 2,000. And this is, I'm going by the guys at the freighter company who told me these things. And then my travel expenses, I'm looking at most recently, it's going to be around $2,000 to get from here to Alaska, put everything in a storage, get rid of the things I don't need. I'll have to go do that myself and such. So what we're doing is working on the $6,000 amount. That's the freighter cost. I figure if we get the freighter cost out of the way, it'll be much easier to knock off these others. It's just the way it works. I've seen this kind of thing work. If you start with the $2,000, let's start with the barge from Haines, Alaska to Seattle. So you get the $2,000. I would already be there by now. But now you're saying, oh, now we got to get the $6,000. Whereas if we get the $6,000, we're good. So we need right now on the $6,000 amount, we've already crested 3,000. That's over halfway to the 6,000. So we need $2,962. Wouldn't it be nice to whittle that down today? So let me thank a few people. I'd like to thank Tom with A and N Technology, and he gave $50. And what he's doing and other people are doing is if you give $50 or more, you get. I have all these files of Georgian music, which it reminds me. It seems like a good time to play some more. Frank, someone anonymously gave on GoFundMe. Miriam gave 50. Laura S. gave 25. You can upgrade that, Laura. Keith, my friend I haven't seen in 45 years, gave $100 and wants the files. He wants as many files as he can get because he heard the Georgian music and heard that it was really good. Dejin put in a couple of double dipped and like 25 and 16. Michael gave 100, Brandon gave 100, Caleb gave 50, Nathan gave, what is that amount? 75, David gave 20, James W. gave 40. Stephanie gave 25. Lynette gave 25. Jacqueline gave 150. That's a nice amount, isn't it? Andre from Albania gave 100. Megan gave 60. I think she's living in Italy right now. Oops, short for Upcycle, who just became a Twitter subscriber, gave 25. Patrick gave 25. Andrew and Lisa Chambers gave 100. Jack Grant gave 30. James W. gave 25. And then here was a matching grant, or a matching pledge. Gregory gave the amount of everything before him. He matched it, and so he gave $235, which was near the beginning. Kimo gave 15. Iskander did 25. Sean 75. Another James gave 15, and then we had Alec 20, and Jill from Switzerland gave 100. And wouldn't you like to be up there and join them and feel good about yourself? Well, temporarily at least. Okay, so there we are. While you're thinking about it, and while you can come on and talk, send me a message. You can do whatever, but let me switch over and play you. And I gotta play some more Georgian music. What am I doing? I'm not playing enough. So you got me just talking. I'll tell you about this puppet festival I'm going to do a little later. But here's a good one. This is I have one video, and it's on both my Georgian Crossroads and another slightly different version on the Anadromist, and it's Georgian groups covering classic American or British hits. And this is a Georgian group doing a version of Aerosmith's Dream On. So check this out.
Every time that I look in the mirror, all these lines on my face getting clearer. The past is gone. It went by like dust and dust. Isn't that the way everybody's got to do in life today? I know nobody knows where it comes and where it goes. I know it's everybody's sin. You got to lose to know how to be. Half my life's in books, written pages. Live and learn from fools and from sages. You know it's true. All the things come back to you. Sing with me, sing for the years, sing for the love, sing for the tears. Sing with me just for today, maybe tomorrow the good Lord will take you away. Sing with me, sing for the years, sing for the love, sing for the tears. Sing with me just for today, maybe tomorrow the good Lord will take you away. Dream on, dream on, dream on, dream yourself a dream come true. Dream on, dream on, dream on, dream until your dream comes true. Dream on, dream on, dream on, dream on, dream on. Sing with me, sing for the years, sing for the love, sing for the tears. Sing with me just for today. by tomorrow, the good Lord will take you away.
Okay, that was, I don't know the name of that group, but it was a Georgian version of Aerosmith's Dream On, which will be one of the files that I will send out there. And speaking of one of the files, I would like to thank Nicholas Stathakis. Did I say that right? Who has just donated $50. And I am assuming, Nick, I'm guessing you're Neutron, Nick, that you would like the 50 Georgian files to go with that, because 50 is such a nice round number, and I'm guessing that music got to you, so there you are. So let's see, what else are we doing here? Oh, someone else just gave. Okay, Michael. Michael, didn't you already give? Oh, I see what you're doing. I think I see what you're doing. No, you're not. Michael, you're just giving $25 more. I'll take it. So let's put these amounts on the board and do some thanking here. And nice. I'm getting some nibbles. There's fish in the water. So let's see what we've got here. And okay, so let's put like Michael, $25 more, and then Nick at $50, and he gets the 50 video package. How wonderful! So that gives us another 75 American dollars. So let's see what we're doing here. So that's let me see, just to make sure I'm doing this right. So that's minus $75. That gives us, so we're down now to $2,887 is what we need to get to the $6,000 freighter cost. Very good, but we're not there yet. So let's continue. Thank you. Thank you. I really, really appreciate the vote of confidence. And I'm glad, because you do realize that when I get my container here in Georgia, there is a lot more. I feel like I'm just giving you, what can I say? I feel like I'm giving you the crumbs here. Because whatever I've done on the channel till now, it's like I've got one hand behind my back the entire time. This is not, I was hoping I would get this here a couple of years ago, and I kept saying, oh, wouldn't it be great to get all this stuff here? And I know I've got hours and hours and hours of just my own lectures. I've got so much interesting stuff I've collected, audio stuff I've collected over the years, and visual stuff. For instance, the difference between what I'm doing now and what I could do then is night and day. And it's not like, though, the minute I get the container here, I'm going to suddenly, it's all going to pop out. Because the problem is, it all needs shelves, and I've got to spend time building shelves in the back room. And one thing I am not doing is I'm not doing a fundraiser to help get the money for the wood to build the shelves and such. It's just like, yeah, some things I just have to do myself. Although it would be nice if someone gave me another 3,000 just to do that, but I'm not counting. I'm not holding my breath, as they say. So, thank you. So there we are, $2,887 away from $6,000. So that's, yeah, it's doable. We've already crossed the halfway mark, and we will continue. So let's see. Anybody else got a message they want to send to me, or would like to come on and talk? I'm going to be here till the top of this hour, and if you have any questions that you just want to write and say, hey, Bern, what about this thing, or what about that thing? You know, what do you think of the new Napoleon movie, which I did see? And I thought the new Napoleon movie, I'm not going to do a review of this for the new channel. Speaking of new channel, we'll discuss that in a second. But no, I'm not going to do a review of it because essentially it's worth seeing. If you like war films and are at all interested in Napoleon, it's worth seeing. I thought Joaquin Phoenix gave a very typically unique kind of interpretation on Napoleon. I thought that what's her name? Oh gosh, the actress who did Josephina. It's slipping my mind. She did an absolutely incredible job. I thought she was very strong. I did think that there were some moments that were played too much for humor, and some moments that you just felt that there wasn't enough. It earns its R rating for kind of sexual stuff as well as violence. There's one scene where a horse takes a cannonball right in the breast, and it's just like, whoa, because you don't ever see that, and it must have happened, but you don't see it. I would say the thing that, as far as like the action and such, the Battle of Austerlitz was absolutely incredible, because I'd read about this battle before, and I'm currently watching the Russian version of War and Peace, which also contains a version of this battle, but it doesn't even come close as far as the accuracy and the intensity of this battle, because I won't spoil it, but it's just an amazing portrayal. I'd known about the events in the battle, but I had no idea. I mean, the way Ridley Scott directed that was incredible. And at the other times, it's not a perfect film, but I'd give it 3.5 out of 5 stars if I was giving it stars. But what do stars mean? I would see it. And supposedly Ridley Scott's going to do a 4-hour version of it, which in this case really would help. Because in a sense, you're dealing with someone who is so complicated, whose life is so complicated. And so you need that time. It's like Lord of the Rings. I was really happy. To me, the real Lord of the Rings are not the films I saw in the movie theater, great as those were, but it was the extended versions, which is just the opposite of Peter Jackson's later The Hobbit, which was just like, come on, this was one movie. You can make it a longer movie, but still, it wasn't 3 long movies. So, but that's the elephantine nature of films, and I hope that we are getting back to something resembling. I think with Disney failing, with Marvel being another wing of Disney, and Lucasfilms being another wing of Disney also failing, maybe we stand a chance of getting some films to shake things up. I was not able to see The Sound of Freedom, which I really wanted to see in the theaters, but it was too independent to come here. But we did get, I do have a Blu-ray copy coming to me in the next week or so, and maybe I'll let you know how I feel about that when I see it. But anyway, So let's see. As long as I mentioned the new channel, the Anadrome, which is my place for my music, movies, and media related stuff, art as well. Basically, all the visual stuff and music goes there. Let me play you my little. I made a 4-minute introduction on the channel. Maybe you haven't seen it yet. Maybe you need to take a quick break. Let's watch that, and then we'll be right back. Meanwhile, you can join the people who've helped us get over $3,000 on this thing. So very good. And if you want to come on board, I will give you the thing. But let's watch.
We're going to devote our energies to sports and gardening, all the cultural pursuits as far as they're concerned. In fact, we're going to put the goons to sleep.
Greetings and welcome to The Anadromist. This is Burn Power coming to you from Tbilisi, Georgia on a perfect autumn day. And it's here. It's time. The new channel, The Anadrome, has officially opened up with an inaugural video called Welcome to the Anadrome. What is the Anadrome? It is a place where we turn to go back against the stream, like our salmon brethren. But what is the channel? It's a place to deal more specifically with music, movies, and the arts in a more extended way, and to leave this channel for more conversational discussions on any topic.
Here we go again.
Guys, where are we?
Welcome to the Anadrome. Will I stop doing music and arts videos here? No. Sometimes there will be slight overlaps and duplications, but longer discussions of the arts, like the one I just put out this week, will stay on this channel. And that channel will not feature much related to, for instance, books or literature. And what's on this channel will stay on this channel, although I will make modified versions of what's on this channel related to the arts and put them down every now and then on that channel. So, what should you do? Go to the Anadrome now, link below, watch my 4-minute video, and subscribe. Simple. I need to get the numbers up so that this channel can get rolling. And I need to get my videos out to the wider world. So, this is where you come in. Coming on Tuesday will be my first review, and it's going to be a theological review of The Exorcist Believer. Hint, there wasn't much believing going on in that film, but you'll have to wait for the review. Some older videos from The Anadromist will be showing up there soon, particularly the symbolism of horror films, and sometime in December, my thoughts on the Barbie movie will move over there in a modified version. Coming up there, and this is very important, will be a video, I think we'll release it on December 13th, Taylor Swift's birthday. She's like superstitious about this stuff. And it's called Who is Taylor Swift? A Tale of Two Taylors. I don't know if I'm going to leave it with that title, but Who is Taylor Swift? Definitely.
This is getting dangerous. This is about to start going in my head real fast. I mean, you just made me feel so powerful.
I saw the big movie that came out with her performance. I've been just suddenly immersing myself in the zone of the Swifties, and I'm just torn back and forth. You'll have to see what I say then. So, join that channel so you can watch that video, because it's probably not going to be here. Or maybe it will. We'll see. So this video is almost over. Follow the links now. Why are you still here? go thou and subscribe and leave comments over there. Pretty please.
Who indeed is Taylor Swift? I'm doing a lot of research on this because I think she's important in a way that I think a lot of people don't quite understand. She's more than a hula hoop. She's more than, a Nintendo game. There's something there that's important to watch. Not necessarily the best thing either, although I have hope. So I have hope and then I have no hope. You'll have to follow me on that. So we've got Nick here, putting in a sense his money where his mouth is, has asked some questions. He says, you mentioned earlier about microscopes and telescopes separating us from the world in front of us. I often wonder how we can both develop scientific insight and intuition without losing any more of our connection to reality. It seems as if the more we move towards the scientific mindset, the more we become detached from the world around us. Do you have any ideas of how these perspectives can be bridged? And to which the answer is, yeah. And that is the whole point of my time ideas. It's only by reintegrating a sense of time back into the materialistic notion of science that we can understand anything. And my theory has been that what's happened, and what happened in early modern science in the Renaissance and Baroque eras, is that we essentially, all of the scientists during that period, to my knowledge, most of them had some kind of Christian theistic worldview. And then they got interested in weighing things and measuring things. There's a couple of movies I just saw recently. One is called Cartesius, and the other one is called Pascal. And they were both made by the great filmmaker, Italian filmmaker, Roberto Rossellini. And he made a series of films about historical characters. He was very important in Italian neo-realism film after World War II, because really they had no more infrastructure because of the war. And so they started making films outdoors, telling real stories and such. And this became really important and eventually affected the French New Wave and other film creating communities around the world. And eventually it went into America in the 1970s. And there was also a bit of existentialism. But Roberto Rossellini was actually, being Italian at that time, was a Catholic, and I'll just say of some sort. I'm not sure how strong his faith was, but his series of movies on historical figures, he did one that I can't find on Socrates, which I would love to find. He also has one that I have here, but I haven't watched it yet, on St. Francis of Assisi. Although I remember watching it when I was like this tall. In California, I think I was around 8 or 9 years old. I saw that film. I was a little taller than that. I saw that film, and I was, even as a kid, I thought, oh, this is really interesting. And then, but these two films, he's got one about the age of the Medici family, which is really fascinating. But then he's got these two here, which kind of work as arguing pairs. And the Cartesius is the story of Descartes, and the Pascal is the story of Blaise Pascal. And the interesting thing about them is they both believe in God, but Descartes is coming to the point where he's saying the only things that matter are those things which can be proved mathematically. Whereas Pascal, who is also a very clever mathematician, a bit younger than him, disagrees and says, no, math can only take us so far. It can't answer the real questions. And one of my favorite Christian books of all time is Pascal's Pensées, his thoughts. And I highly recommend that, particularly the sections on diversion where he talks about, you know, a person can't even be happy in their own room. He says, you know, what is it about us? So, but it gets to the question, and those two together kind of deal with this question: what can science do and what can't it do? Well, when things are abstracted, as what happens with visual, our visual instruments and such, we have a tendency to believe our eyes more than we believe what we actually know in the world around us. And so, it is this empirical would be one way of looking at it, mathematical would be another way of looking at it, objective would be another way of looking at it, view of things, that everything is just, you know, when you look, you're just looking at the surfaces and you say, I know what this is. You know, if I take a drop of blood and put it on a microscope, I know about the animal that it came from. Well, to which the answer is no, you don't. I have a friend back in Alaska. His name is Tim Shields. He studies tortoises in the Mojave Desert. And he says, you know, he's been doing field work. Now, what's interesting is that the scientists looking at through the slides in the labs and doing the, you know, biochemical work and such like that, think they know more about the animals in the wild than the people who actually look at them do. And this is where the whole thing gets really weird. So I've heard some scientists refer to the people in the fields as being like occultists. They're just looking at these animals. You know, what are you going to learn from that? You need, as it was said in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, yeah, we want to study your brain, but we have to get it out first. We have to dissect it. And, but, you know, and that's the problem. That's why Douglas Adams was a real genius for coming up with Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, because he understood on some fundamental level what science is doing to us. He saw it very absurdly, and he didn't have an answer. But nevertheless, I think he's right that we are pulling. The only way for science, the way we've understood it for too long, and this is nowhere worse than the biological sciences, because what they do is they take this materialistic, objectifying, abstract bits and pieces of us, in a sense, put them on slides, and then we wonder why we're having problems living in the world today. Well, we're having problems is because enough people now believe this materialistic stuff that, you know, human relationships are ruined by the fact that, I mean, when I hear people, you know, as much as, you know, I haven't got a big problem with certain aspects of evolution, but when I hear guys talking about like, yeah, I'm just getting my needs met. And you know what they're doing? They're saying that in relationship to how many women they, I don't want to say procreate with, because they're not procreating. How many women they inseminate, you know. And they've used, in a sense, what's happening from the biological sciences, the hard matter-oriented thing, that mathematical thing, they've used that as an excuse to live without meaning and to live only to gratify the self. So I think science is great. I love science. I love in looking at things. But I always have to put it, you know, the material, physical sciences always have to be put into the context of time. And by time, I don't mean the clock. I'm not talking about duration here. I mean that time is what happens in, for instance, if we have an hour on the clock, time is what happens inside that hour. It's not the fact that minutes are ticking by. Measuring time is a very strange thing. You can get down to nanoseconds and such, but that's not really time. Time is the way a thing inhabits a period, a duration. And so it's not mere duration. Duration is our attempt to put time in a materialistic box. But if you take time and realize that everything, from the smallest subatomic particles to the Big Bang, to the way three people will walk down the street, to the way animals are, to the way that bottle that you've thrown, someone's thrown aside. Everything operates in time differently. There are rules, obviously, but it's still different, and nothing can be predicted accurately because, well, it's the butterfly effect, to use the shorthand, which is a little misleading. Anyway, my feeling is, okay, here is how I would reintegrate time and into a scientific appreciation of things. And I often look at what we've done to ourselves with our optical devices as creating the crisis of, and you see this in the Western world, of self-consciousness. And it's interesting, I see it much less here in Georgia because Georgia is much less developed, would be the wrong word, but that would be the right word. Because Georgia is a bit behind. They are not suffering to the degree we are in America and Western Europe with this kind of crippling self-consciousness. And so as a result, I look at it as like stage fright, our self-consciousness. And to add to it the technological element, which is also the scientific element, it's when a person has stage fright on a stage, you get caught forgetting your line, but more importantly, you're looking at the audience. And then you start thinking about them looking at you. And you get caught in that moment. And what we've done is added a camera to the equation. And that means that we're not only looking at that, but we also see a teleprompter off to the side. And the teleprompter has stopped. And everyone's looking at you, and they're clipping bits of you apart and putting your failure on TikTok or YouTube. That's where we are. So the point is to realize, we can reintegrate time back into our lives. And I've discussed this much more in my time series. And actually, I have to do a revised version of that. It's a little more concise and to the point. But that's what I would say is how we would do it. So, what are we doing? Trying to raise money. Where are we? We've gotten over $3,000 towards our $6,000 freighter goal to get my huge library in a freighter from Seattle, Washington to the Black Sea to the Georgian coast. There's other expenses, but this $6,000 is the big expense, and that's what we're working on. So, would you like to help? We've had a couple of people. Michael and Nick give around $75 today, and we had some other people give during the interval between the last time I was here. I realized that money is tight, so I would even take small amounts. But also, my, what should we call it? My little bauble, my thing that I am handing out saying, like, if you give more than $50, you will get Georgian music. And I have hundreds of files of Georgian music. So if you give me $50 or more, I will send Georgian music to you and files of at least 50. If you give $100, I will give you more than that. So, all right, so let's watch another piece of Georgian music while you're thinking about giving. And remember, you can do it through PayPal, or if you want a tax-deductible receipt, you can go through the GoFundMe, and the links are down below. So go ahead and do that now.
Alaska.
Okay, that's beautiful. I think what I do is, how do I have so much Georgian music? Um, well, for one thing, I do look for CDs and vinyl albums. And I would say between here and Alaska, I have maybe 20, 25 albums tops, which is quite small considering how much Georgian music there is. Um, but then I look for videos. One of the interesting things about Georgia is because of the Soviet Union. Uh, Soviet Union had a monopoly on all the music and all the culture in the Soviet era. And Georgia, of course, was inside the Soviet Union. It wasn't a satellite state; it was part of Russia. Although even saying it that way gets Georgians upset. No, we're not part of Russia, but they were. They were colonized by Russia. When they had independence in 1991, what happened was that they then went into a period of a couple of different civil wars throughout the 90s. So the 90s in Georgia was a dark time. The Russian distribution system was based on a record company called Melodya. And Melodya, basically, if you found any Russian record prior to 1991, it was made by Melodya. There was like I say, it was a monopoly. So what happened was during that period, Russia pulled out all of its music stores. So you couldn't buy new material from Russia or anywhere else. Um, then, after the things settled down in the middle of the aughts a bit, they started to. What happened was they got a. There were a couple of stores. When I first got here, there were two music stores. By the time I went looking for them, there was only one, and there still is one. And it's a store. They have one of the things that happened was musically they started looking, I would say, a bit too much at Berlin, and particularly the techno music scene, the EDM, electronic dance music, all that sort of stuff. So they started to imitate that. So there are DJs here who do that stuff, and so this store has largely 12-inch vinyl singles, and I don't think they have any CDs, which is interesting. And they have a small section for jazz. Georgians like jazz, and a small section for other things. Um, and so I think that at that point, like I say, when I first came here, there was one store that was kind of a tourist store that sold Georgian CDs, but the Georgian CDs always have this bootleg quality. They have images and such on them, but you can tell this was printed up in someone's personal home computer or something like that. So what I've done is collected every CD I can find that has music that I want. I've also bought albums, and I buy some on the streets here. Uh, I have found, these would be, of course, mostly albums before the fall of the Soviet Union, so it's older stuff. Um, and then there have been different countries that have put out an album. There's one from Japan, one from Germany, another from France, a couple in America. But basically, this stuff is all really obscure. Finding Georgian music is super difficult. So I also download lots of videos of music, and then I'll strip off the audio file. Like I think I've the one I just played you. I have a file of that one. especially when it has good enough quality to either be of value for folk music or be of that it sounds, you know. So when people make music now, you can't find it anywhere. And a lot of people say, well, you know, everyone's just buying, you know, everyone's just downloading stuff or streaming it, or in the Georgian case, stealing it anyway. And I think that's, you know, if you've heard me talk at all, I'm all into physical media and physical culture. I want books, I want records. And interestingly enough, I was just reading a couple of articles, one from the Discogs channel, which short for discographies, but Discogs has said, hey, what's going on here? CD sales have been rising, and they've gone, and they're just looking at their own. They tend to sell music from all across the spectrum, and they facilitate people selling used vinyl and album and CDs and such. And it's gone up to like I mean, it's multiplied over the years. In 2017, I think they had sold maybe 7 million CDs. This last year, it's gone up to 25 million. And they said that's really interesting. Also, vinyl records have not only not gone anywhere, and one of the things, but they've come back. So whenever I hear people saying, "Oh, you're not still buying CDs or vinyl records, are you?" And I just look at them like, "What are you talking about?" Of course I am, because I don't want everything to disappear. For instance, Netflix, who has a stranglehold on certain amount of new streaming content, will block it from being made. Like there are series, like there's this great German science fiction series called Dark. You can't find that anywhere on physical media. But here's the problem. For instance, there was a movie, a horror film by Mike Flanagan called Hush. Quite a good film. And it's nowhere. They've taken it off the channel, which means it doesn't exist. I actually have a file of it because back in the day when I first got here, the Georgians had a system for bootlegging everything, and I took advantage of it. Hold on. Someone has sent me, oh my goodness, $200. Oh, Nancy, I see. Nancy, let me ask you a question. Thanks so much. We're just going to put your name up there. But Nancy, I think Michael already got 100 music files. Do you want more? If you do, just write a little note saying, yes, I would, or have Michael write it. Okay, so here is, let's put that amount up there. Let's do what we got to do. Okay, so settings, there you are. And then let's switch cameras. And okay, so what's going on? We've got 200 American dollars. That's really nice. So let's put Nancy up there for 200. And she says, thanks for everything I do. Thank you, seriously. And I'm glad that something I'm saying is worth something to someone. That's all I can say. So put 200 here, which now means that to get to the freighter cost of $6,000, we only need $2,687. So we're well past halfway mark, and we will get there. And once we get there, things will get easier. You will see, because that's the big one. We get the big one, we get the rest. If we don't get the big one, we don't get the rest. So I appreciate absolutely everything that we've done. And now I was going to stop this at 10 o'clock my time. Or wait, yeah, 10 o'clock my time. What time did I come out here? I came out here at 9 my time? Oh, it's 11 o'clock my time is when I was going to stop, which is coming up in about 15 minutes. If someone were to give more money in the next few minutes, I would keep going. So I'm just saying that. You don't have to give more money, but I'm just saying I could be tempted. So Palamabron. How do you say that? Palamabron. I don't know. Anyway, Frank, I mentioned you and said thanks to you earlier. Just wanted to say hello, and I'll be listening while taking a drive across the other Georgia. So I'll be here, but not so active. Frank, I appreciate your contribution earlier, and it was noted. And you will be getting the music file. So enjoy your ride. It's such a weird thing to think about. Wait a minute, you're driving? I hope you're not driving and watching me. So anyway, so let's a little bit of reminder here. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Michael. That made it feel like more worthwhile to get out of to get stay up and do this. So let's see. Just a reminder that if you want to contribute to the channel, a couple of things you can do. One is you can give through PayPal or through GoFundMe. Both of them take money out, but that's just the way life goes. But the thing about GoFundMe is, if you do it through there, you can get a tax-deductible receipt for sure. So if that is important to you, I'd go through the GoFundMe link. And especially, I think the more you give, the more you would get a tax-deductible receipt. And the last person to go through there was, no, it wasn't. Yeah, the last person was anonymous, $30. So you can be anonymous over there too, if you don't want me to say your name. But if you got a name like, I don't know, Michael or James or Frank or all these names, Nancy, Sonia or something, no one is going to know who you are. I mean, if you got a name like Byrne, yeah, I don't know. So let's see. Oh, so here's something I'm doing. Next year, in late October, I am starting to put together. Okay, gotcha, Michael. So I will make sure I send you enough music. Michael and Nancy, since you guys are together, I'll send you enough music to make sure you're very happy. So let's see. Did you want multiple files of the same thing, or can you make the duplicates yourself, Michael? Let me know on that. If you want multiples, I will cover that. So one thing I've decided to do here, as some of you may know, another part of my brain is interested in puppetry, and especially more artistic puppets, and using puppets as a way to get around this overly mediated age, when we're living in this virtual abstract nightmare of just people, this is good. We're connecting on some level here. Okay, great. Thanks, Michael. But the problem is, I had a Czech friend in the Czech Republic. She says, like, we need more puppet shows for children. I said, yeah, but you got one here and one here. And he goes, yeah, but I want to take my children every day. Now, she is very deep into puppetry. But what she's saying is important, is that if all you give your kids, if all we give our children are more stuff on this, we're not giving them much at all. We're giving them thin gruel indeed. We are not feeding them. Whereas if you want their imaginations to grow, you take them to some place where someone is using very basic elements to create stories. And that feeds the imagination, because they have to. The interesting thing about puppets is, at first you're looking, a good puppet show to me shouldn't look super professional. I mean, they can, and I've seen them. But it's better when they look really primitive, because then your mind fills it in. Your mind makes this strange piece of wood work. And after a while, you forget entirely that it's something with a glass head, that it's something made out of spoons, that it's something made out of paper mache. That's what puppetry does. So one thing I'm going to do here I know of 5 puppet-related theaters here, is I am going to have a festival for puppetry next year in October here. And let me show you where it's going to be. Here is, I'm going to talk over this. So this is called the Hermit Space. And what this room is called a Marani. Marani is in Georgian a wine cellar. So this is an old wine cellar. I think it's about 100 years old or more. And when you go into this place, there are all these chambers. Now, some, like the one we're looking at here, aren't so big. And there's another one right across the way here. That would be a nice place for a little puppet show. But there are 2 of them. There's a big one at the very end of this. And then there are 2 very long hallways. There's another space right there. And all of these are available for exhibitions and such. This really long space is also a great space for puppets and such. So we've got 2 of these. So we've got about 5 or 6 places here. And so I am having a schedule of puppeteers coming from Georgia, from Armenia, from maybe Turkey, if I can. But more importantly, my friends from France. I've got several friends from France, the Czech Republic, and if I'm lucky, Sicily, and get some of the Sicilian marionettes here. And that's going to be I'm calling it the art of the puppet. Tbilisi. And the reason is I'm not calling it a festival is because when people hear festivals, they think things like prizes. They think things like, I will have some, table discussions and such, but I'm not going to put those signs in the back that say, like they're always repeated images of, this is at this festival or whatever. I don't care about those photographs. Does anyone? I mean, really, it's just like it's so boring. I would much rather have the unusual brick stuff going on behind it. So that's what's happening next year in October. And if some of you want to come, I can help you at least with some of the practicalities. But I'm not expecting many people the anadromous people. There are a few people who really like puppets, but I would say in general, most people are still in that, Bern, why are you always talking about puppets category? So, what I'm trying to do is get you outside of that. Okay, so Upcycle is back. Welcome, Ups. Big Ups. How's that? Okay, Debbie, you're back. Good to see you from Hawaii. There's the old joke. I used to live in Hawaii, but the old joke that I heard this in California. Someone walks up to someone in Hawaii and goes, they're talking to well, you'll see in a minute. They go, do you say Hawaii or Hawaii? And the guy goes, Hawaii. And he goes, oh, thank you. And he goes, you're welcome. So it's like some German or something. Yeah. So let's see. We've got a few more minutes on the clock here, about 8 minutes. If you want to contribute, we've passed the 3,000 mark. We've smashed the 3,000 level. We now have, actually, let me do a little bit of homework to tell you what that is, because I'm going backwards. We need $2,687 to get to the $6,000 goal for getting the freighter all the way from Alaska to here. So let's see. So we've made $3,313 so far in this fundraiser. That's good stuff. I'm always impressed that people will give any money. It speaks a good thing to me. It says what I'm doing matters to you. If you're willing to give up some money, that says, it doesn't just say, oh, good, I've made money, because I'm not making anything here. This is just money that's all going to be used. It will all disappear into the big move. There will not be any of the, if I get $12,000 that I really want, none of it will be left. So it's not like I'm making any money at all. This is, I mean, just like I don't make any money on this channel. I get a few people who give me stuff, and all that money goes for practical things at home. I mean, one of the reasons I look kind of blurry is because I don't have a great camera. The camera that I was using just died, and I'm going to have to buy a motherboard for it to fix it. I can do this sort of thing. It's kind of crazy following some YouTube instructions. And fortunately, I do have the other camera here, which I just got just in time, and this is a webcam. And I would be talking to you through the webcam right now, but I need it for. It's much easier to show you the board with the webcam than it is to show you the board on the computer screen. So, what can I say? Funky, and but I am really glad for everyone showing up here. And wouldn't it be nice if I got one more donation before I got out of here? I mean, I can live if I don't, but it would just be like a little cherry on top. Even $5, $10 doesn't matter to me. I'm not proud. That's the nice thing is doing this. I'm just as grateful for the person who gave me, has given me, and I've had people give me thousands of dollars before. I'm just as grateful for that person as I am for the person who gives me $10, because I'm just impressed that anybody would give me money. Now, I have to express my gratitude a little more to the person who gives more money, but it's still, it's part of what makes doing this interesting. And it's been a couple of years since I've tried, about 2.5 years, I think, since I tried to do this before. And what the money got me before it was the world you see behind me, this apartment, which is huge and has enough to put all of the shelves I have to build. So, yeah, it's work, but it's good. I like it. So, life here has been good. I took a nice walk today through a park. So I walked by the soccer stadium, the football stadium, for the first time. And I looked in there and I said, I need to go to that sometimes. I'm not at all interested in soccer or football, but it would be nice just to see a game. And same with the rugby stadium, which is actually much bigger here. Rugby is played in the huge stadium here, which is fascinating to me. Okay, well, we've got about 3 minutes before I'm signing off, unless someone wants to prolong my stay here with a gift. But keep in mind that the Georgian music is out there, and I've got hundreds of music files. And if you give $50 or more and you want a bunch of Georgian music files to listen to, just do it, and I will send that to you. Meanwhile, if you're saying to yourself, "Oh, I'd love to give now, but I can't," well, you can always do it later. Just go through the PayPal or the GoFundMe link, and I had people do that. That's why we started off with 3 people, including Frank, who left a little note. So let's see what else. And then tomorrow, let's see, today I came on at 9 o'clock Georgian time. So I don't know what time that is wherever all of you are. But tomorrow I'll be here at, I think it's 6 or 7 o'clock my time, more like 6. And I will be here then. And I will be with Laura, who we've had great discussions. We are going to do another Christmas music one in mid-December. And so that will be good. But tomorrow we're going to talk about music, but also do some pitching. Continue the campaign, get the money. Also, by coming at a slightly different time, I might get different people. And I have to remember that. I also have to do this. I have to figure out how to do this live on Facebook and even, dare I say, X, or is it Twitter or Twixter. So, all right. Well, thanks for spending time with me. It looks like I'm out of here. And I appreciate everything. I appreciate the fact that I can flip this camera on in Tbilisi, Georgia, a place most of you would have trouble finding on a map quickly. And then it goes live, and there are people in random places listening to me. This is pretty amazing. So thank you, Michael. Thank you, all of you. And let's call it quits. And if you're around tomorrow, I'll see you then. And if you're not, I'll see you later, or you'll see me. And I will come up with new things to attract you. So think about that. Good night. Draw a beat. We will meet.